Oh, really?
This weekend, yeah.
Wow, I think we're live. It says we're live.
Okay. Mine still says it's setting up the meeting, but
Let's jump on. Like Dayna was sharing just
Really?
with us the fun fact that there are 28 inches. Wow, I think we're live. It says we're live.
All right, I can shut YouTube, right? Yes. Okay, let's do this every week. All right, we're live. We're here.
We are.
We're having a regular meeting and we were talking about all this awesome stuff. So Devika, as always, reminded me to log on live in case there's any value in this for anyone else.
100%. Like you'll see us live brainstorming and strategizing how we're moving forward in the month of February. We just did a review of Jan and Twitter performed really well. So we're just going to double down on that. And now we're thinking on content strategy and we're thinking of 2 videos this month. One is how to create an NFT. And the second one is what, how, and why to create an NFT domain. So Dayna was just educating me on NFT domains. So please enlighten us.
And to back up really quick before we go into those fun video concepts, the other thing that I have been thinking a lot about and talking to a lot of people about is, and it's something that I wanted, is one of the main reasons that I personally want to document a lot of the building of Unblocked is for all of us building in Web3 or thinking about building in Web3, a lot of the business models and ways we're monetizing and new types of products we're going to be offering through our business is same, but different. But at the end of the day, we are all trying to figure out exactly what the best new iterations of either existing business models or new business models look like in the world of Web3. And that is certainly something that I have been on a journey to figuring out, as Devika knows, because she's been working with me for months now. But I personally just think there's power in kind of owning that, being that vulnerable to it and talking openly about it. So again, we can kind of all work together to expedite, hopefully, the figuring of that out and build some really baller things that, again, provide a ton of value and drive change with all the technologies that are supporting the world of Web3. So there's that. And yeah, we were talking about the first video. All of the content that we're creating is designed to do one of a few things. The first one is educate people, that specifically women, but anyone that might be curious about the world of Web3, NFT, crypto, in a way that is really digestible to them, but more importantly, contextualized to their interest levels and problems within their orbit, whether it's through a professional lens, personal lens, etc. We also, specifically the video content that Devika is working on, how-to type content, we are trying to always take the intel and the data from our audience and look at we get a lot of the same questions, right? And use that to inform how we're giving them guides and how-to content to ultimately make money and create in this world of Web3. So 2 of the questions I've been getting a lot recently, the number one is, how the fuck do I create an NFT? A lot of artists, early on, I think I was getting it less frequently because it was more people that created digital art, I think, were the ones that I felt applicable to. But now we know that NFTs can be a real driver or medium to provide access to community, to event, etc. So I've been getting it a lot, specifically from my friends in the digital marketing world. So that is one we're working on. And I think it's pretty straightforward, Devika, unless you have anything you want to kind of elaborate on there with that content. Stay tuned for that, I guess.
We're just trying to do like a simpler version of it. I think one thing we enjoy in our content is there's so much of content now, in the Web3 space still. What we try to do is we try to do a lot of market research and try and create a content which is easy, digestible, is not like lengthy 20-30 minute unless required, and give it in a very concise, simple manner, so that you don't get confused. And even if you're not familiar with the space at all, it's easy for you to follow up. So that is why a lot of time goes into scripting, a lot of time goes into educating our own selves so we can produce a very simple, digestible piece of content. And I think that is where, we are like trying to be ahead of the game in producing content in the Web3 space.
For sure. And that's the other thing that I've been hearing time and time again, especially from women, is like, yo, I understand the importance of women being involved in the crypto NFT Web3 conversation as it pertains to closing the wealth gap and being part of building the future, but I don't have time. I'm busy, whether you have multiple jobs or, as women in general, regardless of the life stage that you're at, we're wearing a lot of hats. We always use the term that women today are multi-hyphenated. And I think it's more true than ever. So yeah, to Devika's point, we're always trying to make it as concise and short as possible for you. So fingers crossed, some of the stuff is quite heady. So we'll see. But if anyone can do it, it's you, Devika.
Only with your support. So you were educating me about NFT domains because that is something I'm still undereducated on. So why do you think that's valuable and what it's for?
Yes. So we did a post on Instagram a while back and no one understood it that was working with me. And it was one of those things like, I don't know if I fully understood the power of what I was trying to say, even though I did. I was like 75% there, which was NFT domains equal utility. And an NFT domain, and the reason I originally was so jazzed about it is because one of the things I've always said is if I could go back in time to, the mid 90s, late 90s, when, consumer mass adoption really started to happen with the internet, I would go back and buy domains. If only I could have bought home.com, dog.com, you would be a multi-millionaire. Obviously can't go back in time, but I felt like there was something there. So I personally bought a bunch of domains, but didn't quite yet understand Web3 domains or NFT domains, because this new domain, so it could be, we have unblocked.eth. I have Dayna DeStefano.wallet.eth. There's different, just like .com, there's different appendages that are on different blockchains. And I'm not going to go into all of, I don't fully even couldn't speak to the technical side of all of that. Right. But that domain, from an infrastructure standpoint, from a token standpoint, is a non-fungible token. It is an NFT, just like digital art, right? So it means it's minted, it lives on the blockchain, and it has all the same superpowers, proof of ownership, immutability, all the things that NFTs have. But, and I would recommend everyone get one. They're not super expensive. I'm not suggesting you go out and buy, every popular keyword so you own it and maybe become a bajillionaire. But I don't think it hurts to proactively get it for your business, especially. The really powerful thing that people I don't think realize comes with this NFT domain and Web3 is, if we look at Web2, again, it's centralized, meaning that we have a whole bunch of companies that own the servers and the databases, which has meant, while it's become consolidated, that you have, when we talk about single sign-in login or user data identity management, it means that Dayna has a whole bunch of different emails and login credentials across different centralized platforms. So my login for Google might be different than Facebook, might be different than Shopify, etc. Yeah. Because we are now saying in Web3, it's decentralized, and that single source of digital user identity is an NFT. That means Dayna DStef has that one single source of user identity and user login. And because the infrastructure of Web3 is decentralized, that means as Dayna, that digital identity, moves through different parts of this ecosystem, I have one single source of login credentials and one single source of my digital identity across all those platforms. So from a usability standpoint, and I can't speak for everyone else, but for me, the bane of my existence is my passwords. I have a handful. They're all slightly different. I always can get to if I don't know the login deets, I can always get there, but sometimes it takes 5 to 10 tries, and I've gotten more organized, but I think that's pretty cool. And I think it's powerful. And there's a whole lot of other things you may or may not have heard of. So one of the NFT domains you can buy is through Ethereum name server. You'll hear the term ENS, and that is when you see people sometimes they'll have it as their Twitter name, or it will be it will be the domain, it will be like DaynaDiStefano.eth or unblocked.eth. That's powered by ENS. And it's an NFT that lives on the Ethereum blockchain, but they did something really cool a few months ago. Because it's decentralized, they basically airdropped ENS tokens to any ENS domain holders. And pending when you created that ENS domain and how many you had, you got more or less ENS tokens. The value has gone down, but I had 3 domains between my husband and I, and the original value of those 3 tokens they'd airdropped me, and it's not dollars, was $16,000. So that's cool. It's basically a DAO. So it gives you you had voting rights, again, by being a token holder. They held value based on the value of the ENS token, which was high at the time because all of the clout, but it also gave me a certain amount of voting rights to be part of the decision-making and how ENS as a token and as a platform, I guess, for lack of the right terminology, evolves. So I think we're going to that's kind of the underlying framework and model of how you can potentially think about airdrops and being a token holder and transfer of value potentially in, buying into owning this domain, in addition to it also making your life eventually really easy from a identity management standpoint and digital login credential standpoint. Did that make any sense? I don't know. You tell me, Devika. It's some confusing stuff, and it's Monday at 9:45 on the East Coast where I am. So I was telling Devika, we got 28 inches of snow here. I was a little snowed in with a toddler, so this could have been gibberish, and I am sorry if that's the case.
It is not at all. Without a doubt, it's definitely heavy stuff, but it makes a lot of sense because I feel like all of us are very familiar with the wallet technology and also the .com technology, and I feel like it's like emerging in that. And I still feel like there's a long way to understand for us what really is the metaverse, what everything is capable of, but this is essentially going to be a very important technology to hold. And for someone listening, like buy KanyeWest.com, you might .com, I mean .eth, you never know how much you're going to get paid for it. So
yeah, and it also is some other more kind of practical reasons why it can become your public wallet. No, you're a wallet ID, a public wallet ID, not private key or public wallet key, excuse me. So I own Dayna DiStef. I think it's DaynaDiStef.eth. Mm-hmm. And let's say I wanted to transfer Devika an NFT. How I would do that today is I would send her my public wallet key, because the wallet that I'm sending that NFT to Devika through is also the wallet that I bought and houses my DaynaDiStef.eth NFT domain. Instead of sending the string of numbers and letters, that public string of numbers and letters, I can simply send Devika DaynaDiStef.eth, and it will achieve the same transfer. So just a little easier. That's why people have it in there. As their profile, because we know that right now, if you're in the space, a lot of people are free, one way we're providing additional value is providing free airdrops of NFTs and stuff of that nature. So it makes it really simple for me to be like, oh, Devika's been following me. She's awesome. I know her public key is devika.eth. I can send it to her without having to ask her public key, which is, 26 letters and numbers that no one can remember unless you're like a little bit savantish.
That's definitely very, very helpful. Yeah. If you miss even if you miss like a digit on your public key and your address is wrong, your funds, your NFTs could go haywire in the air. So I feel like that's a very, very important use. And that makes a lot more sense. I feel like I still need to like spend 20-30 hours on educating myself exactly what it is for us to create like a very solid video, small, short, crisp, which covers all the points. So please look forward to that video dropping this month. I had some personal questions for you. Do you want to lean into those?
Let's do it, girlfriend.
Okay, so talk about how you were working at like a corporate firm, which was GMG for like almost 6, 7, 8 years. What made you want to leave and start your own company and, like start your journey on entrepreneurship?
So I personally come from a family of very successful entrepreneurs. And I've always, you always hear these stories of entrepreneurs who were little and did these crazy, were selling lemonade or whatever it may be. That was always a part of how I've been wired. I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit. And I, over the course of my 20s, have had countless business ideas, many of them that have become billion-dollar businesses. Not suggesting just because I had a similar idea to SoulCycle, I was going to be able to execute it and have it be SoulCycle. But I continue trying to have this affirmation of oh, I did a business plan for that. I had that idea. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I do want to explore this. And I also really believed time and time again, I just wasn't at a point in my life where I was ready. And then my professional career started very corporate, and I sort of with each company got less and less corporate and went deeper and deeper into the early stage startup arena, if you will. And my most recent corporate jump company was Pure Wow, which we were, Devika said GMG, but that stands for Gallery Media Group. That was our holding company, Pure Wow's holding company after we had been acquired in 2018 by Gary Vee. But when I started now 8 years ago at Pure Wow, it was a start. There was probably 8 employees. It was a very early stage. And that allowed me this luxury of being part of building something, getting my hands dirty, seeing what it was like to be part of and build a company at that stage, but really not have the same level of responsibility or take on the same amount of risk as if it was my own. And when I started there, I was probably 27. I was in my mid to late 20s. But it allowed me to, again, observe, wear so many different hats, and learn so much from the CEO, Ryan Harwood. And I spent almost 7 years there. My role changed 100 times. I got to go through the process of getting equity, asking for equity, understanding the structure of equity. And I thankfully had a very close relationship, and Ryan, the CEO and founder, was my boss for most of my time there. So I learned so much, and a lot of the more tactical things that come with building a company and then going through an acquisition. And by the end of my tenure there, we had been acquired by VaynerX, Gary's holding company. We were at, I think, GMG was probably a little over 100 employees, and a lot of things were happening in my life. I had a baby. We had launched some additional brands like 137 PM and the podcast company. But by nature of all of this growth, we were a big boy corporate company, and it was just my time to take the leap. And life happens. I think sometimes the universe makes it very clear when the time is right. And I had a few people randomly reach out. right before I left, asking me if I could take on certain consulting freelance work that was very in line to what I was doing at GMG. And we're talking like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Like people always kind of reached out here and there, but it was this flood of people. And I was like, you know what? I have some clients on lock. Some money coming in because I'm not in a place where I could just not have an income. Or certainly wasn't there. And I also worked really hard and had been smart saving and, you know, putting away the money that I had earned through the acquisition. And I decided to take the leap, and I was ready at that point. I was ready. It's really, I always say to everyone, it's no joke starting a business. I was not naive to how hard it was going to be, but there's parts of it that I didn't realize were going to be as challenging as they are. And my journey looking back worked out exactly how it should. I never would have been ready when there was a few other businesses that I was like very close to leaving my job for, and either fundraising for or really going soup to nuts and running with. And I wasn't ready. I had a lot more to learn. And so I think for anyone that there's so much value in, we see these success stories of like the Mark Zuckerbergs, right? They graduate college. There's so many people. It seems like they have instant gratification, like instant success, excuse me. But to quote our boy Gary, like, and this is a lesson I'm learning more and more every day, like there's so much value in patience, and your experience and your journey is uniquely yours. And I wish I could have more early on been a bit more kinder to myself and a bit more patient with my journey and where I was, and not gone so hard on myself. Because looking back again, I needed to, even I think about the 2 years where I was able to observe Gary, like within conference rooms, that was invaluable, you know? So that is how I got from point A to point B. And yeah, I wouldn't change. And I also I wouldn't change my time at Pure Wow was pure magic. You know, you meet so many people, and it was one of the best times of my life, honestly. I digressed majorly there, so sorry.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for
sharing that. Just kidding.
I feel like, you know what, you have to correct yourself on constantly going in these self-doubt tangents, you know, like you would say some really valuable stuff and then you just doubt yourself. I do that too. So I'm like, we should check ourselves, you know, we completely discredit ourselves. And that's an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like that's one of the best ways you really, really got to experience what it was like to be an entrepreneur, even at Pure Wow, because you said you were part of like the dirt, which is building a company from scratch. Yeah. And then you were able to execute it on your own. And also you just didn't, you know, throw it all away and do it. You started as a side thing when you already had clients and stuff. So you had a safety net, but at the same time you pursued, you know, what your gut was telling you to. So
for sure. And every time I see Ryan, I saw him probably back in September in person. And every time I've seen him since starting my own thing, I'm like, dude, I give you so much respect. I always gave him respect. But the fact that even on his hardest days, you just realize like it's much easier said than done to every day come in with a smile.
Yeah.
Deal with other people when you have a lot of stressful shit going on behind the scenes, and just keep putting one foot in front of another. And that's one thing that, again, I give him all the credit in the world for, because he never showed that he was having a bad day or the stress that was inevitably going on behind the scenes of building a business, especially as you have more employees and things get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, man, that's a very small thing you said right there, but it means a lot. Like you said, showing up every day with a smile on your face, no matter what's going on. I feel like even when I hear, like, even when we're communicating, you always like your greetings are so great. Even though I'm stressed, which is like, you know, what stress do I have? You know, even if I'm stressed, just listening to you saying, you know, like, hi, or being, you know, like vibrant, it lifts my spirits up and makes me want to work harder and stuff like that. So if you've like, that means a lot. Like that coming from your leader makes you want to perform well, makes you feel like you're appreciated, makes you feel like you're not taken for granted. And that small thing makes all the difference in terms of, you know, the kind of relationships you build long-term and the kind of legacy you want to leave. So it's great working with you, by the way. So I understand those like things about having stressful days. On that note, what would you say, what is something that drives you every single day you get up to start building Unblocked, irrespective of what's happening in your personal life?
There's a few things.
Yeah.
One, I truly, with this business, and this was with Unblocked, and this was something that was lacking with my consulting business, which, to be completely honest, was something that was challenging for me. I am a Gemini through and motherfucking through. And there's so much paradox to every part of my being and how I'm wired. And so I'm someone that, like, if for better or worse, if I'm not genuinely excited and passionate about something, it impacts how I do show up. I've learned to control it, but with Unblocked, I am just so excited about the future and these technologies and these cultural shifts and everything that is coming with the change we are currently in the early days of, as it pertains to being a driver of change, and specifically for women of today, specifically for future generations, and ultimately how it can enable us to create and connect and collaborate in, I think, ways that better suit humans of today and how we have evolved in tandem to this technology that is embedded in every part of our lives, not even Web3, just our screens, our phones, social media. Yeah. And I'm really just excited about it. I love problem solving. I love coming in and figuring out how we can build things to make things better. And there's an opportunity to do that with a lot of this new tech. And this brand is certainly trying to play its part in that. So that's the first big one. The second big one is my children. And I think in a lot of ways, I can't speak for other people, but there's a lot of fucked up things that are happening in our world right now. And I personally felt very helpless at times. And a lot of what the world that I'm playing in and what I'm hoping to build, I hope can do a small part in making this world a better place for future generations. Even if we think about like the social good charitable component that comes with a lot of what a lot of Web3 businesses are building, it's kind of the norm, right? Like, it should be the norm, in my opinion, for every business in 2022. But I think there's so many ways you can think about that, but that is the second. And the third is, this is very personal. I'm truly on a journey to every day be the most honest, authentic version of myself and show up as the person I want to show up. I want to show up for me. And I sometimes joke that I'm on a little bit of a social experiment of like, I don't know if this experiment is going to work, but every day I am trying to build the life that I want for myself and my family. And this path is a huge part of that. What I'm building with Unblocked, how I structure my days, the team that I'm very slowly but very thoughtfully surrounding myself with. And the more patient I can be and the more kind of small wins I can have on this journey, the more it's made me feel like I might be onto something for myself. And it makes it a little bit easier to keep showing up that way and trusting that path on the hard days and the hard moments. But that is certainly probably the third driving force.
That's amazing. Thank you again. I feel like I have the same sentence for everything, but I mean it. Thank you for sharing that. It takes a lot just to be honest. All the 3 points you shared, like you said, you're working for a much bigger purpose than, like short-term economics and, like numbers and stuff like that. So, and it definitely reflects in your work ethic also, like your intentions, they reflect on how you manage work and how you've built your vision and the reason you're building this company. I feel like everyone can feel that. And that's awesome to be a part of. So on the ending note, do you want to ask something? Do you want to share something on the closing note?
What are you most excited about with either through the lens of Web3 and or what we're building with Unblocked as we go into the new year?
I think one of the most things I'm excited about is the community aspect. I know it's so overplayed, but I don't think people understand the power of building a community in the Web3 space. Whether even if you're building up your Instagram, you're building up your YouTube and stuff, how everyone without a doubt is going to have an NFT, is going to have to something in the Web3 space, which is only going to be the driving in success is going to depend on building that community. And I feel like in the Web 2.0, in the social media phase, it kind of taught us how to build a community. And the first time we're seeing what does that real interaction look like, without any hindrances. I'm very, very excited to explore that. And I feel like Unblocked being one of the pioneers, building in this space, educating consumers and stuff like that. I feel like we being the pioneers, we are building that. We'll be ahead of the game on a technology that is going to be so massively adopted across the world. We're learning, we're following, we're growing together. And the most exciting part is all of this is documented. It's going to be so exciting to see how this plays out in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. And I feel like all our intentions are good. Everyone in the Web3 space is about winning with others. And you can tangibly feel it. And that's very exciting. You can see the authenticity and stuff like that behind so many different aspects, whether it's projects, whether it's companies, and how everyone is so ready to help each other. And I feel like, we're just super in the dirt of exploring all of that. And it makes me very excited to be working on that with a great team.
I love it. And yes, I couldn't agree more with everything you said. Perfectly stated. So yeah, with that, let's keep building.
Yes. All right, Dayna. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for everything you shared with us. And we will probably be doing a Twitter space next week. So please keep in tune and see you another Thursday.
All right. It's Monday. We're just tripping everyone up, including me. I was like, it's Thursday. I should keep changing this up on Devika. So that's on me. All right. Thank you, love. We'll talk soon.
Yes. Thank you so